All right, people. I want to talk to you about the storms they have. The storms they have. I know I said storm. It's a fire, but I want you to think it's a firestorm. And I keyed up AI to do the talking for me. It's kind of my way of cheating to give you format instead of me blubbering around and saying how to do it. And I'm always talking to you guys, about overpressure and under pressure. When you see explosions, when you see this, for example. And now let's talk about this. Let's watch the fire as people say it's wind blowing. Well, the fire creates its own wind source. Watch this. Oh, hold on. Now, some of you would say, "Oh, it just happens to have be blowing that day." Well, not true. The fire itself. Let me see if I can get this graph going for you. So let's just. Down. So let's just look at that as the fire. Oh, great. Sorry, guys. Let me pause that. All right. So let's look at this as the fire down below, and it's pressure created. So this is all the fire here. All right. You can, of course, we make it much larger, but this expands up here. So it expands the pressure, and I'm going to let you listen to the AI tell you. It expands here, but out here, let's just call this atmospheric pressure of 14 pounds. Out here, it expands the air. Well, AI gets it a little bit wrong, and I'll maybe correct it while I'm talking to you. To get expansion, you're also going to get pressure yourself, an overpressure, because that air is, let's call it air, atmospheric pressure around it is 14 pretty much. Let's call it no wind at this point. And so we get 14 everywhere, including down there where the fire is, but, well, where the fire is located, until the fire starts, and that changes everything. So to get expansion, you also have to get compression. So this gets compressed above it. Now, AI gets it wrong, but maybe, like I said, it'll get it right when I talk to it. You expand this air, heating it, you're pushing against the 14 psi here, and you might take this to 14.3, let's say, pounds, and you think nothing of that, but that's major. That's per square inch. So it's 14.3 is 0.3 of a pound per square inch. This is major, but ultimately it's going to implode. It only can go out so far. The gradient and pushing against the 14 pounds starts stacking up until it meets equilibrium. And as this fire, as it burns out a bit, the pressure drops. This comes surging back in, and just like a momentum, it then, when you're looking at it now, it then flies across. So let's help you visualize that. Let's look at this. So here's the visualization of it, and you can see which way this overpressure is taking place because the sparks, the embers. Okay, and you can see the speed of it also. And it's bending that tree. It's bending that bad boy right here. This thing is really, that pressure is huge. So it's overpressure. Now, trucks have been turning over out there also, tractor trailers. They got a much bigger kite surface, if you will. Let's say that. Now, let's go to when I asked the question, here's the answer. I didn't hear it all, but let's see if I can start over.
Outflow winds. The intense heating and rising air create an updraft. This updraft draws air from the surrounding areas, creating an area of lower pressure, negative pressure, at ground level, downbursts. In some cases, as the rising air cools and condenses, it can descend rapidly as a downburst. Downbursts can create localized areas of high...
Trying to figure out how to restart that. Give me a second. Okay, so I figured it out, how to restart it now from the top. I didn't hear it all, but I saw some of it. Saw some of it. And maybe, so in that case, maybe they will address I doubt it, because the first part that I heard, it didn't, it failed to understand that. And let's just let it play.
Large forest fires can significantly alter atmospheric pressure, leading to both overpressure and negative pressure effects. Here's how. Heat-induced low pressure. Intense heating. The intense heat generated by a wildfire rapidly heats the air above it. Air expansion. As air heats up, it expands. This expansion causes the air density to decrease.
So it's trying to say a square inch of, say, 14 psi can expand it can't expand if it's surrounded by 14 psi. That expansion means that it has to do that. It has to create more pressure in that 14 psi, and we'll see her correct it in a moment. I'm sure she. That's why, like AI, unlike a human, we would get into a debate where you're wrong and this and that. AI doesn't have a problem with saying they're wrong and correcting their direction.
Low pressure zone. Lower air density translates to lower atmospheric pressure. This creates a low pressure zone above the fire. Wind generation. Pressure gradient. The difference in atmospheric pressure between the low pressure zone above the fire and the surrounding higher pressure areas creates a pressure gradient. Wind flow. Air naturally flows from areas of higher pressure to areas of lower pressure. This pressure gradient drives strong winds towards the fire. Overpressure. Fire whirlwinds, firenadoes. In extreme cases, intense localized heating and updrafts can create powerful whirlwinds or firenadoes. These can generate significant overpressure within their core. Negative pressure. Indirectly. Outflow winds. The intense heating and rising air create an updraft. This updraft draws air from the surrounding areas, creating an area of lower pressure, negative pressure, at ground level, downbursts. In some cases, as the rising air cools and condenses, it can descend rapidly as a downburst. Downbursts can create localized air.
Yeah, that's what I talked about, the momentum, and that's a downburst as I refer to it as.
Areas of high pressure and strong winds at the surface. Important note, the specific atmospheric pressure effects of a forest fire vary greatly depending on factors such as fire intensity.
All right, let's see if we can correct it on the first part where it says pressure, intense heating. The intense heat generated right here, and generated by a wildfire rapidly heats the air above it. The expansion of air expands. This expansion causes the air density to decrease. All right, it says air density decreases. Now let's see if we can do something with that. Not decrease. Let's see if it understands that. Oh man, it's lame. It does that sometimes. It won't, all that talking. Let's try it again.
You're raising a valid point about the relationship between heat, air pressure, and density in the context of a forest fire. Here's a breakdown of the key concepts. 1. Heat and air expansion. Expansion. When air is heated, the molecules gain kinetic energy and move faster.
Yeah.
This increased motion causes the air molecules to spread out, occupying more space. Reduced density. Since the same mass of air now occupies a larger volume, its density decreases. 2. Pressure and density. Direct relationship. In general, air pressure and density are directly related. Higher density typically corresponds to higher pressure. Local variations.
Yeah.
However, the situation within a forest fire is complex. While the overall density of the heated air column above the fire decreases, there can be localized areas of higher density due to uneven heating. Intense localized heating within the fire can create pockets of very hot air with higher densities compared to the surrounding less intensely heated air. Compression. As the heated air rises, it can compress surrounding air, temporarily increasing its density. 3. Pressure gradients and wind. Pressure differences. The varying densities and pressures within and around the fire create pressure gradients. Wind generation. Air naturally flows from areas of higher pressure to areas of lower pressure. These pressure gradients drive the strong winds associated with wildfires. 4. Overpressure and fire whirlwinds. Intense heating and updrafts. In extreme cases, intense localized...
So the updrafts and all that, all you're seeing there, guys, is just a pressure differential cycling in and out like a imploding. You know, it pushes so far and it can't do it anymore, and then the atmospheric pressure implodes that pressure because the heat is not infinite to the sky. It's not infinite in any direction. It's a gradient, a wave form, if you will, happening.
Heating can create powerful updrafts that can spin and form fire whirls or firenadoes, overpressure within the vortex. These vortices can generate significant overpressure within their core due to the rapid spinning and compression of air. In summary, while the overall density of the air column above a forest fire generally decreases due to heating and expansion, there can be localized areas of higher density. These variations You're absolutely right. As the fire intensity decreases, the heat output diminishes. The rate of air expansion slows down. The pressure differential between the fire zone and the surrounding atmosphere lessens. This leads to a gradual decrease in the wind pressure generated by the fire. Key points. The relationship between fire intensity and wind pressure is dynamic. As the fire weakens, the driving force behind the wind pressure diminishes. This doesn't mean the wind completely stops, but its strength and direction will likely change as the fire's influence. You've hit on a crucial and often overlooked aspect of wildfire behavior: times of potential for resurgence. Here's how the interplay of air pressure, oxygen, and fire behavior can lead to flare-ups. Initial fire and oxygen consumption. As the fire burns intensely, it consumes a significant amount of oxygen in the immediate vicinity. This oxygen depletion can temporarily reduce the fire's intensity. Shifting winds and oxygen inflow. Changing wind patterns. Wind patterns around a wildfire are constantly shifting. Fresh oxygen supply. Shifting winds can bring fresh, oxygen-rich air into the fire zone. Flare-ups. Increased combustion. This influx of oxygen can reignite smoldering embers or reignite areas where the fire had temporarily diminished due to oxygen depletion. Increased intensity. These flare-ups can quickly intensify, driven by the renewed supply of oxygen. Important considerations. Fuel loads. The availability of fuel, dry vegetation, trees, etc., plays a significant role. If there's still plenty of burnable material, even a small spark can reignite the fire. Weather conditions. Changing weather conditions, such as sudden wind gusts or shifts in wind direction, can dramatically impact the fire's behavior and the potential for flare-ups. Firefighting challenges. Predicting flare-ups. Accurately predicting the You're absolutely right. Understanding the flashpoints of different fuels within the fire zone can significantly improve the predictability of flare-ups. Here's how. Flashpoint as a predictor. Ignition temperature. The flashpoint of a material is the lowest temperature at which it gives off enough vapor to ignite in the presence of an ignition source. Predicting ignition. By knowing the flashpoints of the dominant fuels in the fire area, e.g., grasses, shrubs, different tree species, firefighters can anticipate when and where flare-ups are most likely to occur. Factors influencing flashpoint. Moisture content. The moisture content of the fuel significantly impacts its flashpoint. Drier fuels have lower flashpoints and ignite more easily. Fuel type. Different types of vegetation have varying flashpoints. For example, dry grasses generally have lower flashpoints than larger, denser trees. Ambient temperature. Higher ambient temperatures can increase the temperature of the fuel, bringing it closer to its flashpoint. Firefighting applications. Prioritizing resources. Firefighting resources can be strategically deployed to areas with fuels that are closer to their flashpoints, increasing the likelihood of suppressing potential flare-ups before they intensify. Monitoring and surveillance. Enhanced monitoring of areas with fuels near their flashpoints can help firefighters identify and respond to emerging hotspots more quickly. Important considerations. Dynamic nature of fires. Despite this knowledge, predicting wildfire behavior remains highly challenging. Factors like wind, humidity, and the overall intensity of the fire can significantly influence the timing and location of flare-ups. Continuous monitoring and assessment. Firefighters must constantly monitor the fire's behavior, assess changing conditions, and adjust their strategies accordingly. By incorporating an understanding of fuel flashpoints into their decision-making, firefighters can improve their ability to anticipate and respond to the dynamic and unpredictable nature of wildfires. I appreciate you bringing up this crucial aspect of wildfire behavior.
All right, look, so I'm going to keep this under 15 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and terminate the video. Wish you guys the best. Thanks for the support of the cats, and wish you all the best this new year.